Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I got to the restaurant 20 minutes early. I wanted everything right before Betty walked in. This wasn't just a dinner reservation. It was my attempt to fix things with Betty, a reset, a chance to sit down face to face and stop whatever had been building between us. The place was quiet but not empty. Low lights, soft music, people talking like they had nowhere else to be. I picked a table near the window. Not too exposed, not hidden either. Balanced. The waiter came over. I ordered water and told him someone was joining me. "She running late?" he asked. "She'll be here," I said. I believed that when I said it. At 7:05, I checked my phone. Nothing. At 7:10, I sent a short message asking where she was. No pressure, just a check-in. 10 minutes later, she replied. Said she was still out, traffic, might be a bit late. No apology, just information. I leaned back in the chair and looked around. A couple across from me was sharing a plate, laughing about something small. The kind of laugh that doesn't need effort. At 7:30, I ordered anyway. Steak for me, pasta for her. She always ordered that. The waiter raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Yeah," I said. "Bring both." The food came out hot. I didn't touch hers. At 7:52, my phone buzzed again. I already knew the tone before I even looked at it. She said not to wait. Said she got pulled into drinks with friends. Said we could do this another night. No question, no suggestion, just a cancellation after the fact. I read it twice, then locked the screen. The pasta sat there untouched, steam fading off it like it was giving up. I picked up my fork and started eating my steak. The waiter came back halfway through. "Want me to keep that warm?" I shook my head. "No, you can clear it." He hesitated. "Everything all right?" "Yeah," I said. "Just a change of plans." He took the plate. I watched him walk away with it, like it was something I had already paid for but never got. At 8:10, I finished my meal, alone. I didn't rush. I didn't sit there longer than needed either. I paid, stood up, adjusted my jacket, and walked out like I had somewhere else to be. On the way to the car, I checked my phone one more time. No follow-up, no call, no correction. That's when it settled in. I hadn't been stood up. I had been replaced. And the worst part wasn't the empty chair across from me. It was the fact that she didn't even think it mattered. I didn't go home right away. I walked a block past the restaurant, then another, then circled back like I was checking something I already understood. The night air was cooler than it should have been. It helped. When I stepped back inside, the place had filled up. Louder now, more people, more noise to hide behind. I walked to the bar and took a seat. "Whiskey," I said. The bartender nodded and poured without asking questions. "You got stood up," a voice said to my right. I turned. Diana Carter was sitting 2 seats down. I knew her from the building next to mine. She ran a small design studio. We'd crossed paths a few times, short conversations, nothing personal. "Observation or guess?" I asked. She lifted her glass. "You had a table set for 2. You're alone at the bar. Not a tough case." "Fair," I said. She slid 1 seat closer. "Mind if I sit?" "Free country." She moved over and glanced at the dining area. "That your table by the window?" It was. "And she just didn't show?" "She showed," I said. "Just not here." Diana nodded like that told her enough. No fake sympathy, no overreaction. "That's a bad look," she said. "For who?" She looked at me directly. "Not you." The bartender placed my drink down. I took a sip. Let it sit for a second. "She said she got pulled into drinks," I added. "Told me not to wait." Diana let out a short breath. "After you were already here?" "After the food was on the table." She shook her head. "That's not last minute. That's planned." I didn't answer that. My phone buzzed again. I didn't need to check, but I did anyway. Another message from Betty. Something about staying out late, not to make it a big deal. I turned the phone face down on the bar. Diana watched that. "You always this patient?" "Not really," I said. "Just efficient." "With what?" "Seeing things for what they are." She nodded slowly. "Then say it." I looked at the glass in my hand, then back at her. "She didn't forget," I said. "She just chose something else." "Exactly," Diana said. "And you still ordered her dinner." I let that sit. She wasn't wrong. "I thought maybe showing up properly would matter," I said. Diana gave a small, sharp smile. "It does, just not to the wrong person." We sat there for a minute without talking. No awkwardness, just quiet that made sense. Diana tapped the bar lightly. "You done with this night?" she asked. I looked at her for a second. "Yeah." She nodded like she expected that answer. "Then come on," she said. She stood up, left cash on the counter without waiting for a bill, and started toward the door. I stayed for another minute, finished my drink, then followed her out. Not chasing, just moving in the same direction. For the first time that night, I wasn't thinking about the empty chair anymore. I was thinking about what I was going to do next. Betty came home at 2:17 in the morning. I was awake, not pacing, not waiting by the door, just sitting in the living room with the lights off, the TV muted, and enough time behind me to think clearly. I heard her keys, then the door opening slow, like she was trying to slide back into the house unnoticed. "Don't bother," I said. She froze for a second, then shut the door behind her. "You're up?" she asked, like that was the surprising part. I stood up. "You missed dinner." She dropped her bag on the chair. "I told you, I got pulled into drinks." "You told me after I ordered," I said. "After I sat there for almost an hour." She sighed, already irritated. "Larry, it wasn't a big deal. We can go another night." "It was a reservation, Betty, not a suggestion." She rolled her eyes and walked past me. "You're doing that thing again." "What thing?" "Making everything heavy." I stepped in front of her before she could reach the hallway. "No, I'm making it clear." She crossed her arms. "Clear about what?" "That you knew I was there, and you chose not to come." "That's not fair," she said quickly. "I was with friends." "I didn't ask where you were," I said. "I'm telling you what you did." She shook her head like she was done with the conversation already. "I'm tired. I don't want to argue." "Good," I said. "Because I'm not arguing." That made her pause. "I'm changing how this works," I continued. "Starting now." She gave a short laugh. "Oh, here we go." "No speeches," I said. "Just facts. I'm not waiting on you anymore. Not for dinner, not for plans, not for anything." She narrowed her eyes. "So what? You're punishing me now?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm adjusting." She leaned against the wall. "You're overreacting." "I sat alone in a restaurant with your food in front of me while you drank somewhere else," I said. "That's not an overreaction. That's data." She didn't like that. I could see it. "So, what does that mean?" she asked. "It means we stop pretending this is balanced," I said. "You do what you want. That's clear. Now I'm going to do the same." Her tone sharpened. "You already do what you want." "No," I said. "I used to plan around you. That's done." She pushed off the wall. "You're being dramatic." "I'm being accurate." She grabbed a glass from the kitchen and filled it with water. "So what? Now we live like roommates?" "We already do," I said. That hit. She turned back to me. "You're unbelievable." "No," I said. "I'm just done ignoring it." She stared at me for a second, then shook her head and walked to the bedroom. "Whatever, Larry. Do what you want." "I will," I said. The door shut behind her. I didn't follow. That was the first night I stopped trying to fix it and started letting it show itself. The next few days told me more than any argument could. Betty didn't adjust. She doubled down. Thursday night, she walked in at 11:30, heels in hand, laughing at something on her phone. "Busy week?" I asked from the kitchen. She glanced at me. "Just out." "With who?" She smirked. "You said you weren't asking questions anymore." "Right," I said. "Just tracking patterns." She rolled her eyes and disappeared into the bedroom. Friday, she didn't come home at all. I didn't hear from her until late the next morning. A short message saying she had crashed at a friend's place, dead phone, long night. No apology. She walked in around midday like nothing had happened, sunglasses on, coffee in hand, scrolling her phone like she owned the silence she left behind. "You're home," I said. She looked up. "Obviously." I leaned against the counter. "You planning to stay tonight, or should I assume you've got better options?" She gave a short laugh. "Wow, you really flipped a switch, didn't you?" "I stopped pretending," I said. She took a sip of coffee. "Rachel thinks you're intense." "Rachel doesn't live here." "She hears things," Betty said. "You overanalyze everything. Always serious, always structured." "I made a reservation," I said. "That's not a personality flaw. It's the expectation behind it," she shot back. "You always expect something." "I expect you to show up," I said. "That's the baseline." She shrugged. "Maybe your baseline is too high." I nodded slowly. "Or yours is too low." That ended the conversation. Later that afternoon, I stepped out to grab something and ran into Diana outside her building. She was loading boxes into her car. "You look like you slept exactly 0 hours," she said. "Feels accurate," I replied. She studied me for a second. "Let me guess. No improvement." "Consistent behavior," I said. "That's worse," she replied. I leaned against her car. "She didn't come home last night." Diana didn't react with surprise, just a small nod. "You check anything?" she asked. "Like what?" "Like where she actually is," she said. "Or who she's with." I shook my head. "I'm not chasing." "That's not chasing," she said. "That's verifying." I looked at her. She crossed her arms. "You don't have a communication problem, Larry. You have a truth problem." I let that sit. "She's not just out with friends," Diana added. "People don't change patterns like that without a reason. You think there's someone else. I think you already know there is." I exhaled slowly. "I don't deal in guesses," I said. "Then don't guess," Diana replied. "Get facts." She shut her trunk and looked at me one more time. "Because right now, you're reacting to behavior without understanding the cause." I nodded once. That was enough. That night, Betty left again around 8. No explanation. I didn't ask. I just watched the pattern finish drawing itself. The next morning, I called a private investigator. No emotion, just a simple request for clarity. He asked a few questions, gave me a rate, and said, "You'll have something by the end of the week." I told him to start. That was enough for me. Wednesday night, Betty came home earlier than usual, around 9. She walked in like she had something to say. "I'm going away this weekend," she said, dropping her bag. "Where?" I asked. "Just a trip." "With who?" She hesitated half a second. "Friends." "Which ones?" She sighed. "Why does it matter?" "It doesn't," I said. "I'm just listening." She crossed her arms. "You said you weren't asking questions." "I said I wasn't chasing," I corrected. "There's a difference." She shook her head. "You're exhausting." I nodded. "And you're avoiding." She grabbed a jacket off the chair. "I don't have time for this. My flight's Friday." That made me look up. "Flight," I repeated. "Yeah," she said casually. "It's just a quick getaway." "Where to?" She smirked slightly. "You'll survive not knowing." That told me everything I needed. Friday afternoon, she left without saying goodbye. Just the sound of a suitcase rolling across the floor and the front door closing behind her. At 6:12 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Betty. A picture of a glass of wine on a small round table. A balcony view behind it. Her message was simple. She told me to relax. Said it was just a trip. Said I shouldn't make anything out of it. No mention of where she was. No mention of who she was with. But an hour later, I got my answer. The man I hired sent a message. No commentary, just images. Betty at an airport earlier that day, not alone. Standing next to a man I recognized immediately, John Hayes, her ex, the one she used to talk about like a story she never quite finished. The next photo was clearer. Them sitting close at a gate, his hand on her back like it belonged there. Then one more. Different location. Evening, same clothes, a rooftop bar, same glass of wine, same table. No guesswork needed. I looked at the last image for a long time, then locked my phone. No anger, no reaction, just confirmation. She didn't go on a trip. She went back to something she never really left. And she told me to relax while she did it. That was the moment I stopped thinking about what this was and started planning what came next. I didn't respond to her message, not that night, not the next morning either. Betty sent another text around noon the following day. Same tone, casual, like nothing was off. A picture of a street cafe this time. She said the city was beautiful. Told me again to relax. I left it unread. Instead, I went about my day like I had already made a decision. Because I had. Around 4 p.m., I walked over to Diana's place. She opened the door before I knocked twice. "You look different," she said. "I have confirmation," I replied. She stepped aside. "Come in." I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the photos quietly. No dramatic reaction. Just a slow nod. "The ex?" she asked. "John Hayes." She handed the phone back. "That explains the confidence." "It explains everything," I said. She leaned against the counter. "So, what's your move?" "I'm not chasing. I'm not arguing. I'm not asking for explanations." "Good," she said. "Then what are you doing?" I looked at her for a second. "I'm ending the leverage." She smiled slightly. Now you're talking. There was no plan to turn this into something messy. No revenge scenes, no shouting, just positioning. Stand here, I said. She raised an eyebrow. What? Just for a second. She didn't argue. Stepped next to me, close enough that it looked natural, not staged. I held up my phone. This isn't about pretending anything, I said. It's about clarity. She understood immediately. Then don't overthink it, she said. Just take it. I did. One photo, clean, simple, no explanation needed. Two people standing side by side, calm, composed, not hiding. I looked at it once, then sent it. No caption, no message, just the image. I put my phone down on the table and didn't touch it. Diana watched me. You're not even going to check? No, I said. I already know what happens next. 10 minutes later, the phone started vibrating. Once, twice, then again. I didn't move. Diana crossed her arms. You going to answer? No! The calls kept coming. Then messages. Long ones, short ones, question marks. Missed calls stacked on top of each other. The same person who told me to relax now needed an answer. I picked up the phone and glanced at the screen, then turned it face down again. She'll keep calling, Diana said. I know, I replied. Why? Because now she doesn't control the frame anymore. The phone buzzed again. And again. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't reacting to her decisions. She was reacting to mine. Betty came back 4 days later. I knew the exact time because she had been calling before takeoff, and then again the moment she landed. Messages stacked up, shifting in tone the longer I ignored them. At first it was confusion, then questions, then accusations. By the end, it was urgency. I didn't answer any of them. I was home when she walked in. Midday. Same house. Different atmosphere. She dropped her suitcase by the door and looked straight at me. What the hell was that? She said. I didn't stand up. Trip go well? Don't do that, she snapped. Who is she? Someone who shows up, I said. Her expression tightened. So that's what this is? You send me a picture with another woman while I'm away? You sent me pictures first, I replied. Remember? That's not the same, she said quickly. It is. Yours just had worse company. That hit. She stepped closer. You're unbelievable. I stood up slowly. No, I'm finished. She laughed, but it wasn't confident. You don't even know what you're talking about. I walked past her and grabbed a folder from the table, set it down in front of her. Open it. She didn't move at first. Then she flipped it open. First photo. Airport. Second. The rooftop. Third. Closer. Clearer. Her face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. That's not what it looks like, she said. It's exactly what it looks like. She shut the folder. You had me followed? I had the truth verified. That's insane, Larry. No, I said calmly. What's insane is flying out with your ex and telling your husband to relax. She tried to recover. We ran into each other. It wasn't planned. You boarded the same flight. That's not running into someone. She opened her mouth, then stopped. I didn't fill the silence. What do you want? She asked finally. I already handled it. I walked to the hallway, brought out 2 suitcases, and set them by the door. Her eyes snapped to them. What is this? Your next move. You're kicking me out? I'm ending this properly. No noise, no games. She stepped forward. We can fix this. No, I said. You had time to fix it. You used that time to leave. Her voice dropped. It didn't mean anything. You left the country with him. It meant enough. She reached for my arm. Larry, I stepped back. That part's over, I said. She stood there for a second, then looked at the door, then back at me. You're really doing this? I already did. Silence. Then she grabbed the suitcase handle. You'll regret this, she said. I shook my head. No, I regret waiting. She left without another word. The door closed behind her. And just like that, the house felt quiet for the first time in months. Not empty, just clear. The divorce moved fast after that. No fights, no scenes, papers, signatures, done. She went back to him. I heard it through people who still talk to both of us. It didn't last. Turns out what looks good in secret doesn't hold up in real life. She tried calling a few times after that. Different tone, different attitude. I didn't pick up. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. And that made all the difference. Thank you for watching.